from living in Australia, seeing this from an Australian perspective down under. You've done videos on the World Economic Forum. You've done some research on it. Davey, give us a little bit more of an update, what you see and what's coming down the line from them in terms of what we're looking at 2023, a World Economic Forum, getting their tentacles in pretty much every country.
Okay. I think you just summed it up there, getting their tentacles in every country. I can't forget that clip by Klaus Schwab, where he was boasting about how we infiltrate the cabinets.
So we penetrate the cabinets.
We infiltrate the cabinets, and he was boasting about Trudeau and his various young global leaders, how they're positioning them in places. And I think it's important for people to know how stakeholder capitalism works, because this upcoming Davos meeting is basically going to be focusing on implementing the second leg of the stakeholder capitalism. As we were preparing for this today, Marco, you played us a short little video on the WEF and the remarks that woman made about the greater good or the common good. I think they were very telling words, because this is basically what stakeholder capitalism is. It's basically focusing on this coming together for the greater good. And I think a lot can be actually said about that. And basically, they decide the policies, they infiltrate the cabinets to push these policies that they've already decided on. They partner with businesses such as Amazon, Google, PayPal, to implement and enforce their policies. So they're basically operating outside and above the rule of countries. They're basically acting as their own government, and they're using one another to enforce these things. And I think, from memory, I'm probably going to not quote it exactly, but I think their title for their Davos meeting is Cooperation in a Fragmented World. And It's basically the second part, where they've got their policies and how do we basically enforce them. This is basically what's going to be decided here, how they're going to enforce these policies, which they're already doing. We're already having trouble with the companies I just mentioned. You disagree, you have a point of view that goes against the narrative that they've decided, then they will make life difficult for you. They'll shut you down. And at the moment, the digital ID is and the digital central bank digital currency are going to be very crucial to their enforcement of a lot of this. The digital ID is gaining momentum here. If you were a small business operator, you had to have your digital ID set up by the 15th of December of last year. If you were to be a small business operator. They're forcing people into the digital ID here through coercion, and people don't see the danger in it. Basically, you are creating a digital prison for yourself. So basically, next time they lock you down, they're going to be able to really control what you do a lot more. And then it'll get even worse once they bring in the central bank digital currency, which is going to be tied to this digital ID. So if they lock us down to a 5-kilometer range again, you venture out there, your wallet's not going to work. You're not going to have access to your bank. Just as examples of these sort of things. It's
very similar to China.
Yes,
very similar to China. Yeah.
And Klaus Schwab has even said China's a role model for many countries. Yeah, great. Just what we need. But they're already doing it. It's kind of like, if you want to travel, for a lot of places, you still need your vaccination certificate to travel. The only way you can get that now is through your digital ID, the MyGov ID. If you go to the website, the MyGov ID website will actually say, no, there's another way you can do it. You can actually go through the Medicare app. But if you go to the Medicare app, you have to have a MyGov ID to be able to have the Medicare one. So they're just lying. They're just not being honest. They're basically forcing people into having the MyGov ID, the digital ID. And it's accelerating very quickly here.
Yeah.
It's true of Australia, it's true of Canada, it's true, not so much here in the States yet, but David, what do you think about this?
Yeah. Well, first, a quick question, David. Sounds like the greater good is these elites. Is that right?
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Okay. So ask again, Marco, please.
Well, it's what you think about what Davey was saying, because in reality, what they're bringing in and the implementation is ESG, which is for corporations, corporate credit score, apps, corporations, cooperations actually with tech world to detail the report of activities around the world, not just America, but around the world, colluding with intelligence agencies, spying on everything that not just Americans, but Australians and British citizens and UK, Canadian citizens. But is it naive to think that they won't abuse this? I mean, the reality is it's already been abused.
Of course, it's been abused. And basically, I once heard a sermon about 50 steps to taking the mark.
Yeah.
When you see each one of these coercions, as the term that Davey used, which is true because they just put you in a corner, you either do or you're out.
Yeah.
So each time you keep going one more step into it for the sake of this convenience, one more step for that convenience, one more step for this, you're moving to a point where taking the mark will just be something you've been doing for a number of years, however long it is. And so it's like when Encyclopedia Britannica used to have 36 questions. If they could get you to say yes to every of those 36 questions, you were ready to sign on the dotted line on the 37th. And so this is what they're doing they're getting us ready to just follow them blindly into, as Davey rightly said, a prison. And for those that to worship this image of this beast and believe in him, because he will be peace and safety for you. He'll turn on your lights. He'll make sure you want to go to that vacation. You can go. He'll make it enough for you that you'll want. He'll be everything for you. He'll be the God that you always thought he should be.
Very interesting. And Canada is already implementing this. I mean, vaccine passports with digital ID, just like what Davey was talking about in Australia, they're well ahead of the US. Not that they couldn't happen here in the US very quickly, or in the British Islands, in the UK Islands very quickly, but it could happen very, very quickly. And of course, they're already quite ahead of that.